I own and run the largest U.S. sports betting Facebook group.
Sounds like you're trying to build like the Duolingo of sports betting.
If I didn't have 137,000 people in a Facebook group, if I didn't have a Discord community, it'd be a lot harder to have that initial success. I plan on selling PlayerProps.AI for $35 million. I'm not a dev, but I can look at an API feed, JSON or whatever, and I could be like, I'm able to look at crazy amounts of data and be able to single out like, okay, this, or this, like, hey, like this isn't working. And I go, oh, you need to change it to this or use this word. So I've gotten comfortable doing stuff like that.
That's dope.
That's dope. It's just, really cool. I've used UX UI, like for PlayerProps.AI for the landing page and for the initial design, I used a UX UI guy, but I only really need that for the initial design. And then when it comes to me making tweaks, necessary tweaks after the fact. I mean, I make the tweaks with the UX UI guy and then, okay, boom, this is what I want it to be. But then when we start building it, I go, you know what? I really don't like this. I actually use, and this is the funniest thing to me that I love telling people, is I use Microsoft Paint. I use Microsoft Paint and I'll be like, I'll take a screenshot of the site and I'll just literally pull a box, like a little box around something, pull it over somewhere else, take another screenshot or copy that image and then paste it. And even though it's hot trash of what it actually looks like, I know how to use the hot trash to get my image in my brain across.
Travis, thanks for taking the time to do this interview. Really cool to reconnect since our days over at PrizePicks. I remember being on the product side of the house, and then when we threw that big party, I remember you came over. You were running a huge affiliate site, content site about sports betting. I'd love to learn more about that, but it's really cool to connect with you because now I know you're working on your own app startup. So super excited to dig into that. You have a ton of experience in the space. I know you have probably a huge community already ready to support you with your app. So just super excited to dive into this interview and learn more about you. Thanks for taking the time. I'd love to give you a chance to introduce yourself. If you want to tell us who are you and what's the app startup that you're working on?
Yeah. So my name is Travis, based here in Orlando, Florida. I've been in the fantasy sports and sports betting space since 2011. What I did back then was I published a handful of books teaching people how to play fantasy basketball, fantasy football, fantasy baseball. And then once these DraftKings and FanDuel started coming out of the woodworks, then I kind of wrote another book teaching people how to monetize the skill set that I just give them in the book, that I wrote 2 years ago. So what I'm working on right now is a app site / everything called PlayerProps.AI. The high level view of what I'm trying to accomplish is the responsible gaming is something that for those that aren't in the betting space, responsible gaming is something that's shoved down our throats by the state governments and by the sports books and the pick'em apps 24/7, 365 as a, let's let people believe that we care about the better. Let's make them think that we care about them by doing these things. But of course, how it is right now as of this recording, it's still a joke where there's 3 pillars to responsible gaming. Are you old enough, which for sports betting is 21 plus? Are you in the right states, which is the 38-ish that are currently legalized? And the third one is, are you addicted by our terms of what sports gambling addiction is? So if you don't check the addiction boxes to them, then you're not addicted. So even if you are technically addicted to gambling, they don't really care. So of course, everyone thinks, well, of course they don't care because if the person loses, the more they lose, the more the companies make. But what I've seen in my relationship with PrizePicks, because we were one of the when I was solely working on DFS Karma and Bet Karma, we were one of the first content media companies to partner with PrizePicks and to partner with Monkey Knife Fight, the first pick'em apps in the space. They both kind of saw this vision that I had that kind of plays into PlayerProps.AI today, where just to paint a picture of an example, if somebody's completely brain dead when it comes to sports betting and they deposit $500 and they play $500 and they have no idea what they just bet on, they lose it, they never bet again, they never deposit again. What's the lifetime value of that better? It's $500. But if they're slightly more educated, if they understand the terminologies, if they understand basic strategy, they deposit $500, they may win depending on what their bankroll management's like. They may win a little bit, they lose a little bit, but when they lose, it doesn't become, oh, I suck at this, I want to stop. It's, sports betting, bad luck, whatever. Let me try, let's try more. So just, if you can increase the user's confidence, then they keep playing, and sure, they're going to not lose every single time. I think if you try to lose every single time you can't, just because that's how crazy the sports betting stuff is.
Yeah.
But you actually, the sports books get a longer lifetime value, a greater lifetime value from these more educated bettors. And so when I was back in 2018, 2019, when I first partnered with PrizePicks and Monkey Knife Fight, there were other players in the space, sports books and pick 'em apps alike, that didn't understand that if you increase the education, if you increase the things, it's like, wait a second, no. We don't want you to make them smarter. We're not going to pay you to make them smarter, to make them win more. So essentially we're losing twice. And I was like, no, that's not how it works. So there's a lot of people that just didn't get it. But PrizePicks and Monkey Knife Fight early on, they understood it. So what PlayerProps.AI is kind of piggybacking on that proof of concept that I've been able to prove for the last 5 or 6 years is, if you increase education, it's a win-win for literally everybody involved.
Absolutely.
So if the sports books, if the gambling states, if they want to actually make 1% more effort into caring about the sports bettor, let's increase their betting literacy, their betting education. So even though you're not going to see it on the site anytime in the next, I don't know, probably you're not going to see it before NFL season kicks off this year, but the main crux of what we're going to be building is on in-app betting courses. So, kind of like a little bit of like a Khan Academy, Udemy, just kind of all of these things where you have to complete these things and you have to pass.
Damn, that's sick.
Yeah, but the problem is that so few people in this world, you can't, even if it's free, they don't want to learn. You can't force feed them education. So what we are doing is we are putting that later on. So what we're doing first is, I'm going to create the sexiest app for player prop research you can possibly imagine. I'm going to charge you $59 a month. If I can make it sexy enough that you're more than willing to pay $59 a month, which isn't that much. It only breaks down to $1.97 a day. But if I can build something and you can prove to yourself and to me and to the investors in the space in general that this is worth, to me, $59 a month, then I go ahead and I add the betting courses and we add that part of the feature to the app. Now, you go in, you click on Betting 101, and let's just say that's going to cover basic terminology. You complete that, even though that doesn't help me or my company whatsoever, because you're trying to better yourself, which is my entire mission, my entire vision of the purpose of this app existing. I'm going to comp your next month. So it actually hurts my revenue for you to take this test or this quiz or this course, but that's my entire point, to increase the education, increase the literacy. And then to take that even a step further, you go in and you complete Betting 102, but I'm not going to comp your next month. I'm going to make the sports books put their money where their mouth is with this responsible gaming initiative. And by the time you complete Betting 102, we'll already have your name, the state you live in, and your preferred sports book. So let's say you choose Ohio and FanDuel Sportsbook. You complete Betting 102. I don't give you $59 comped month to access to premium, but FanDuel Sportsbook, they had a $50 free bet in your account. So It's kind of like holding them accountable for, if responsible gaming is really important to you, and you're already giving out $50 free bets for people just blinking their eyes, you might as well put it to a bigger use case or a bigger mission. Absolutely. And so that's kind of it's kind of like the whole bird's eye view of everything. But if you go to the site as of right now, as it's recording, you're only going to see the first 1% of what PlayerProps.AI is going to become.
That's sick. I'm stoked that you are building in this space, because even during my early days at PrizePicks, we always talked about lifetime value, and even the basics of app marketing and business. Lifetime value is super important. At PrizePicks, we intentionally designed the game, like all the way down to like, if you open up PrizePicks for the first time and you see like the placeholder for your entry size, it was always $5. And we did that intentionally because we wanted people to place a large quantity of entries over a period of time. We didn't want people coming in saying $200 and then lose their $200 right away. We wanted you to have a little bit of skin in the game and keep coming back day over day. I think that's what smart businesses do. They optimize for that lifetime value. When you give somebody a poor user experience at the beginning, they're very unlikely to come back. And then a lot of my time at PrizePicks towards the later half of it was actually implementing a lot of our responsible gaming features like wallet management and like bet limits and entry limits and self-exclusion. And those were things that the states like required us to build so that we could operate in those states. So like, I think education is super important. There's a lot of problems that stem like politically fantasy sports and sports betting. So you're solving, I think, $1 billion problem that like even the large publicly traded companies are still struggling to solve. And I love the education play. There's no better way to leave an impact on the world than by teaching people. I'm biased because we run an education company, but to me, it
Wink,
sounds
wink,
like
wink. As you
to me,
point to your shirt.
to me, it sounds like you're trying to build like the Duolingo of sports betting.
Essentially, yeah. So there's so many things that kind of feed into my brain baby that is PlayerProps.AI. What I've just explained is one of them, but some other things are I own and run the largest U.S. sports betting Facebook group that's monitored daily. When I
Oh,
say
really?
monitored daily, I mean there are like two that have higher member count, but it's like half of it is just spam bots that they didn't filter out. But I've already done all that stuff. So it's the largest U.S. sports betting group on Facebook, and it's about 137,000 people in there, and
Damn.
they are if you were to rank betting intelligence from 1 to 10, 10 being the apex, the people that are definitely profitable on that, it's all ones and twos, which is fine. I mean, everybody's got to start somewhere. But I see all the questions, and what I before like having this massive group, I was like, okay, this is what I think a 1 is. But then they're asking questions that's like a -2 on the scale. I'm like, why are you putting money? People are putting money on things, and as soon as they lock the bet, they then take a screenshot, post it in the group, and ask what needs to happen in the game for this bet to hit, which melts my brain. Hey, I just bet on Miami Dolphins -4.5. What does that mean? Wait, you already locked in $20 and now you're asking me? And so I was like, there is a huge need for this
Damn.
because there's very few people, only 1% of people are ever going to get to that 10 on that 1 to 10 scale.
Mm-hmm.
100% of people always start on number 1, and then you eventually get yourself up, you build up your confidence and everything. There's two kind of the biggest competitors in the space, I guess, for what PlayerProps.ai is right now, because nobody's doing the education thing, but what it is right now with the data and everything like that, the biggest comparisons, I guess, would be like a Props.cash and an Outlier. But what Evan with Outlier and then Pete with Props.cash, the CEOs of those companies, have said publicly in the podcast that they've been present on, they have mentioned, we're targeting the intermediate to advanced sports bettors, so the 5 to
Mm.
10s. So, and I've been saying the same thing, or not the same thing, but I've been saying the same structure, but I've been saying I'm targeting the 1 to 5. So we're technically not even competitors because they're looking at a completely different market. They're looking at people that already know what's going on and just want the data, want the stuff to kind of propel their sports betting. I'm getting people that have no idea what's going on, and then I'm helping them figure out what's going on and then already having that stuff kind of in front of them. So you're going to see like on the other apps, well, not all of them, but there's maybe 1 or 2 apps out there that have like crazy amounts of data that will be like, holy crap, this is so amazing to somebody who's been in the sports betting space for a while. But if you're day one, like you open it up and you'll delete the app instantly because your blood will just come out of your eyes. It'll confuse you so much. So yeah, I do have a background in education as well.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
So actually, I was going to mention a funny story about PlayerProps.ai that has to do with education. So when I was kind of putting beyond pen to paper, when I was trying to put this plan in motion in summer of last year, I started reaching out to all of the investors in the space that I had a close network with. And they all of them said the same thing. Travis, I know what you're capable of. I know you're going to crush this. I would invest in you yesterday, but at the amount of money you're asking for, I need my partners to be on board as well. And the only way my partners sign off on things, because they don't know you, is they have something in their hands to play with. And I was like, well, this is kind of like a pre-seed, pre-product, pre-revenue thing. So I need the money to build it so they can play with it. And I was like, all right, so how is this going to happen? I don't have, I'm definitely not well off by any means. I don't have the kind of money to build something myself with my current, income and revenue. It's like, man, I got to figure out a plan B here because everybody's saying the same thing. I need something to play with. My partner's going to sign off on it. So my background, I know it was education, but that I have a lot of my background. I have the largest resume that you can possibly imagine. I've dipped
Yeah.
my toes in every pool that exists, but my degree is in acting,
Oh, wow.
and most of my background after college was in entertainment, specifically game show hosting. I hosted game shows for Nickelodeon for about 6 or 7 years live on stage stuff
No
here
way.
in
What
Orlando,
show?
not necessarily on the TV channel, even though I've been on the TV channel once.
What show?
Um,
Can you share the show that you were on?
well, it was actually a special where they took uh, there's a super popular show around 2015 2016 called Belle and the Bulldogs,
Okay.
and Brec Bassinger was the lead of it. So she was the hottest star on Nickelodeon at the time, and so they sent
Damn.
her to me in Orlando to the Nick Studios, to the Nick Hotel where I worked at, and we kind of did this fun little thing where we went through the show that I host was Double Dare, so we went through like the obstacle courses and stuff like that, and but that was anyway. That was the sole
Yeah.
segment that got aired. But anyway, I'm pulling us back to summer of last year. Investors are saying we need something to play with. That was my background. Simultaneously, while these investors are saying this, one of my former coworkers at Nickelodeon from back in the day reached out to me. Like, this all happened within like the same 30-day time span. He reached out and he said, "Hey, I know you're crushing it in the business side of things, with the sports betting, the fantasy sports stuff, but I just wanted to reach out to you. If you're interested, there's a game show that's going to be touring the country that's looking for a host. And of course, you have the best game show hosting resume of anybody I know.
Damn.
If you're interested, shoot so-and-so an email." And I was like, okay, I know so at the time I'm solely working on DFS Karma and Bet Karma. And I was like, man, I know that I can run this company anywhere in the world where I have good Wi-Fi. So if I'm constantly, in theory, if I do this touring the country and I'm staying at hotels, all hotels have great Wi-Fi, then I can essentially still hold my meetings and do everything I do for the company outside of the show time. So like, you know what? This is going to give me the extra revenue that I need to complete this. And so I auditioned and got the job and left my wife at home for 11 weeks for the first leg, which was early September to late November of last year. And the game show is not something you're ever going to see on TV. It's a live game show that it went to middle schools across the country, and it was like this Broadway level stage and set that we built. It took 3 hours to build it, 3 hours to tear it down at the end. We built it in like the basketball gymnasiums of the school. And when I say it's Broadway level, I mean like you see it and it'll floor you by how much money the parent company put into this production. But the game show, the purpose of it was to teach and promote financial literacy to middle school kids. So it took
Cool.
everything I do in life has to do with money, betting and all the education stuff. And so it kind of took all of the stuff, including the game show hosting experience, kind of put it into one package. Like everything I'm trying to do now was this show. Like this is a perfect thing for me. So host this game show where the middle school kids were on each team and they're doing these fun challenges all have to do with something with finances, and just kind of promote that conversation to get kids starting to talk about it, because that's something that I think every person in America that didn't have any kind of financial literacy in middle school, which I don't think anybody our age even got close to that.
No, they didn't.
But we wish that we had some more things. Like every time somebody graduates high school, or every time there's a meme about high school or middle school, it's like, thanks for teaching me the Pythagorean theorem, but I really wish I know how to change a tire on a car, and like all those memes like that, where it's like, man, there's so many like real world things that were never taught, and financial literacy is like
looked
a
at a
huge
tax
one.
return in high school, man, and like now we're like doing taxes. It's like, yo, why didn't we see this right before we left high school?
I don't know the name of the NBA player, but there's an NBA player that started a campaign because the rate of NBA players going broke like super quickly, like poor investment.
Yeah.
Like they sign like $10 million contracts and they spend $10 million in like the first 365 days. And I can't remember. I know it was a former NBA player that started this movement where he kind of has all the rookies that would go to like the NBA draft, like all the top people. He would like set up some kind of educational thing where he'd bring like people that had poor decision making or whatever, and he put them together. And he's like, okay, so this is what not to do. This is what to do. If you need people to help you with this, don't do this. Don't give your friends money or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And so he kind of like makes sure that, he can't really, it's really hard to reach everybody all at the same time unless it's like some online course thing, but it's pretty much something he just goes to the draft, like on draft week, and just breaks everything down. I can't remember the name of him. There's somebody former NBA guy does that, but yeah. I feel like we keep going off on on,
No,
on
yeah, yeah. Let's
PlayerProps.AI tangents.
I can bring us back on track. So
Yeah,
we were talking about the app a bit. I want to come back here. So
yeah.
uh, you have this revenue model. You're going to be charging $59 a month, and I think you have some incentive structure to partner up with the books. You have this huge Facebook community, and now your app is in beta. Tell me about like where your app is right now. Is it ready to roll? Are you doing like testing?
Yeah,
Is
so we I had a closed alpha in February, and the way I picked that was I had already started kind of building a Discord community from my Facebook community, like just sort of funneling people into that. And I did something called the play of the day, and I hit a
So
lot
real
more
quick,
than
if I can kind of
yeah,
pause you right there, you've already built a community. You have like all these people in a Discord and a Facebook group. These are like hungry people that love Trevis and are looking for you to drop them a product, right?
essentially. I don't know if they all love Trevis, but they all like winning money and they hate losing money. So
Hell yeah.
I get,
Okay.
and because I'm kind of helping them, I guess you can say they love me.
Okay. But my point is that like we teach this in our programs as well. We're community built growth, community growth, community
Yeah.
led validation. Like you have your chances of success are way, way higher because you already have like people who are hungry for solutions. And it's your job to have your ears to the cement and give them what they want. So yeah, tell me like about that experience.
Yeah, so I think I don't know if we mentioned this while we were recording, before we were recording, but I know I said this where it's it was a me doing PlayerProps.AI right now at this point of my life, at this point of my career in the space is just a perfect timing scenario. So if I didn't have 137,000 people in a Facebook group, if I didn't have a Discord community that's the largest pre-product, pre-revenue Discord community in our space, at just over 13,000, if I didn't like have these things, then my success, still could be successful, but it would be a lot harder to have that initial success there. So like, wait a second, I have all these people, they have this desperate need for help. They think all they need is someone to spoon feed them plays every single day, but I have to kind of convince them that they actually need to just have better education and teach them how to create their own plays. I have nothing against Twitter cappers. I'm friends with a lot of them, like 100% on board with that. But it's kind of there's if you're going to be
It
paying
goes back
someone a
to
monthly subscription, go ahead.
it goes back to like what they say about the car, like the Model T. Like back when there were horses and people were building the car, if you ask people what they wanted, they'd say they wanted a faster horse. They didn't know they wanted a car with an engine and four wheels. So like same situation for you. Like you have people who think that all they want is plays, but consumers actually don't know what they want until you show them something that you built that they didn't know existed before. It's kind of the same thing for you, right?
Yeah, essentially something like that. So it's what everybody's targeting in this space is I'm going to help you win more. And everybody's saying that. My tagline, if you will, what I'm marketing with is I'm going to help you lose less.
Mm.
So essentially, it's the same thing, but that targets their main pain point because people like winning, but you hate losing more than you like winning. And I think that's common for everybody in the sports betting space.
Hell
Winning's
yeah.
great. I mean, if you win like a crazy parlay where you're like $100,000 profit, sure, that's better than losing. But
Hell yeah.
still, if you're doing just constant daily betting every single day and just seeing those red numbers or the loss or whatever it may be, that's the biggest pain point. That's what we're trying to fix. How do you fix someone losing? You figure out why they're losing, and you fix it. So if they're
Yeah.
driving a car with three tires, hey, you need a fourth tire. What's your fourth tire? Betting education, betting literacy. Okay, you want a car with a faster engine. Well, what's your faster engine? Well, your faster engine is actually using applying bankroll management strategies and utilizing certain data points, both
Wow.
past, present, and future in AI and stuff. So like just using your car analogies, you just got to kind of there's a lot of people that are stubborn. There's a people that are inside the Discord, inside the Facebook group that their mindset is, I'm never going to pay someone for picks because until they actually listen and look into what PlayerProps.AI is or what anybody else, there's a lot of people, there's a lot of scammers out there. There's so many scammers out there that will get them to join a So first off, if you're watching this and you're a bettor If somebody tells you to join a Telegram link, there is a 99.99% chance they are a scammer. Nobody that I know personally has a Telegram community that's not scammy. So that's the first thing. Telegram is where the scammers go. Don't do it.
So
But yeah, go ahead.
let's go down to your app. So you got the community, you got the validation, or you have some signs of validation. I wouldn't say validation just yet. Like, how are you building this app now? And like, what's your next step for actually bringing this app to life?
So yeah, to answer, I always go off on these tangents, but to answer one of your previous questions and this one as well. So closed alpha was, oh, this is why I was mentioning the closed alpha. Now I remember why I got to that point. Closed alpha was February. We picked those 15 people that helped us with the closed alpha based on our Discord community's engagement. So like the people that referred the most people to our Discord, which of course was 100% free, and there were no tools designed or just a community at that point. They got the closed alpha, and then we did the open beta for March. I think it was like March 4th to March 28th. Okay. A couple months ago, I decided to do March 28th as the launch day because it's MLB opening day. Kind of start off with a splash. Hey, you've been playing around with the NBA tools and the NHL tools, and then boom, here's MLB, and here's live, here's the landing pages, here's all the sexy other stuff added to it. So we've been live for, what is it, three weeks now, something like that. We have, I always have goals that are unattainable. My goal was in the first 24 hours, I was going to have $100,000 in subscription revenue. We didn't hit that goal, but of course that was just something that I'm always putting ridiculous benchmarks, which yes, it means I'm always disappointed because they're always unattainable, but that's the chips. I force chips on my shoulder. I force that fuel to keep me, striving for more, because eventually my goals aren't going to be impossible. So if I keep setting crazy goals, eventually I'm going to hit them, because I am a no quit ever kind of a mentality. So yeah, the app, when I say app, the mobile website launched on March 28th. The next thing rolling out is the desktop version. And then after the desktop site comes out, then we're going to be launching on iOS and Google Play stores. Awesome.
Really cool. And how many people have touched your pre-release version of your app so far?
So total active users on site, I think, is like 32,000.
Whoa. Before you even launch?
Before launch, I think it was 21,000. So we've gained about 10,000 active users on site since we launched. I do have a few Facebook, Instagram ads. I just launched a Twitter one yesterday. Tomorrow I'll be doing a TikTok. I already have the video, but I just got to put it up. A TikTok one. Google ad, YouTube ad, and it's just something where every dollar of revenue that comes in from people signing up goes into the development. I want to make sure that if you are willing to give me your hard-earned money because of you think what I've made and everything I'm doing for you is worth that amount of money, then I'm going to return the favor by giving that money back to you in the form of more tools, more features, more grandiose ambitions, on top of later on actually giving that money back to you by doing the comped course stuff I talked about earlier.
So you said 35,000 users?
Yeah, I have to check Google Analytics, but yeah, it's I think last time I checked earlier, there was 31,000 people have checked out the site.
So let's say 30 for sake of number, right?
Yeah.
How many do we think we can convert percentage-wise into paid?
That's the golden question. It's something that the conversion rate gets bigger and bigger the more features we add. So if somebody looks at it right now and they're like, well, that's cool stuff, but I don't think that's worth $1.97. And then a few days after we launched, I started creating something called the VIP play of the day, where, not to go into too many details to give away the secret sauce, I have a certain strategy when it comes to something betting relating to MLB that we started it's technically 16 days ago, but in the first 15 days, it's 15-0, hasn't lost since. And it's kind of a foolproof system, which seems like it's crazy because that doesn't exist in sports betting. You're not going to make $1 million a day doing it, but you'll make a profit every single day. Back testing it through all of last year, I think it only lost once. It was 141-1. So using that, I was like, okay, while my devs are hard at work adding more features because I can't speed them up. They can only work as fast as they can work. What else can I add that's value? Well, let me add this
Right.
VIP play where every single day I'm going to give you something that has a 99% hit chance, as long as you follow the rules and everything.
Yeah. So you're
And
saying
so,
that like by adding these features, like you're creating more value and that ideally should get more and more people to convert. I'm just trying to
yeah.
come up with a juicy number here, but like I think average in SaaS is like between like 10% and like 25%. 25% is if you're crushing it. But even if we say like, I don't know, 18% of people convert to paid,
Yeah.
like we're at 5,400 monthly subscribers and you said you're charging $60 a month. That's like 300K MRR times 12 months. That's a 4 million and $4 million annual recurring revenue business, which like in the SaaS world could potentially sell, I think, for 10x, 15x. And yeah, you could be building a 40
So
to
on
60
that
million.
point, I have an end goal number. So I have kind of, I guess you call it like a 36-month plan. So in 36 months, if everything, I mean, not everything's going to ever work out the way you want it to. Like I said, because my ambitions are very grandiose. But if
That's how it's got to be, man. Ambitious for
yeah,
sure.
if I get to what I need to do and I pull off the things I need to pull off in 36 months, I plan on selling PlayerProps.AI for 35 million. So that's kind of the number there. I
Let's go.
mean, and for people that are watching this that aren't familiar with valuations in this space or exit numbers, I mean, Action Network early on and the super new US sports betting space went for 240 million. Roto Grinders, I think, when all is said and done, was like 69 million. And so I'm definitely not targeting the peak of the iceberg. I'm targeting something that I feel is very possible, with how still young this industry is and how many people need PlayerProps.AI. Even if they don't know it yet, I mean, it's gonna get to a
Yeah,
point where you're like, I really don't want to deposit again. I hate losing. Maybe I should make that my Google keyword. Just I hate losing. I'm gonna have
100%.
to do that now.
I know that I talked to you earlier about like telling us like how you're developing the app, but actually I don't want to do that. I'd rather you tell us like, do you know how to code, first of all? And like you have this idea for an app, like how are you bringing it to life knowing that you don't know how to code? Maybe you need to work with you obviously have a development team. So like how did you learn how to speak the language to developers and how are you bringing this to life as somebody who doesn't know how to code?
So I don't know how to code. I I did like I don't know how long ago this was. Like I feel like 10 years ago. I did like a Ruby on Rails course.
Oh wow.
I did a little bit of Khan Academy. Just I'm like I've always been interested. I don't know how much older I am than you. I feel like I'm at least 20 years older than you. That's at least what I feel like anyway,
I'm
or that's what my lower
26.
back feels
I'll
like.
turn 27 in 3 months.
All right, well okay. I'm 37, so I got some grandpa status here, but no, like going back to the earliest parts I can remember being on a computer, maybe fifth grade, sixth grade, seventh grade, where we're on like old school Macintoshes and you type in you're in just like a debug mode where you just type in some code and then asterisk what we called snowflakes, which is like fall from the screen, like kind of Matrix style. And that stuff was super cool to me. I could type something and something would happen. So I've always
Yeah.
had that kind of computer interest. Actually, out of high school, I didn't go to college right out of high school. I actually just worked because I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. But thinking about it more, spending a year off of not doing anything education wise, I go, I want to. What's going back to? I like the whole computery thing. My number one hobby, my number one thing I was a fan about was video games. I'm a huge gamer. I did the whole streaming thing for a few years, the content creation stuff. Have a great amount of friends that I made from that. But I go, I want to be a person who creates this. So it kind of pairs those two things together. So I actually was go to school for computer animation and game design. And that would have happened if the private institution here in Orlando, Florida would have accepted the Pell Grants and the scholarships that I accrued through my high school, doing so well in high school. But they're like, and they didn't tell me they weren't going to till I'm in the admissions office, like filling out the paperwork. Like, wait a second, this price is way too high. And they're like, oh yeah, we're a private institution. We don't have to accept those things. And I go, well, clearly this isn't going to work out. I can't afford this. And so I kind of threw that plan or that dream in the trash. And I was like, all right, this is too expensive. Then I kept working. And then I got to a point where I go, let me go to a university that does take what I've earned. Because I did earn, things in Florida is called like Bright Futures, where I got like 75% off tuition, and then I have some grants I earned as well. So it was, in the grand scheme of things, relatively cheap compared to what people that don't have those things are paying.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, so that computer animation game design is too expensive. This school doesn't have it they don't have it at the time anyway, UCF. But what else I did in high school is I did 4 years of drama, did a ton of plays, loved the crap out of acting. And I go, you know what? I'm going to go to school for acting. I'm going to go to school for theater. And that's kind of what went into the game show hosting side of things. But this,
Yeah.
like I said, every question you ask me goes off on a crazy tangent. So I'm going to bring it back to what am I doing? What am I doing now for the development side of things? So yeah, I don't have any skill set when it comes to coding,
Okay.
but I've developed an ability to talk to people who have zero experience in sports betting or fantasy sports. And not just that, but third world country devs that don't even know what baseball is. I actually have spent an entire meeting many years ago with a dev I had, because he was confused when he's looking at the code and the APIs. He's like, wait a second, something's wrong here. He goes, I don't understand baseball. Your 1B is a position and a stat. And I go, yes, it's crazy,
Oh,
but
wow.
true. And so I spent like, it was a screen share where I was using Microsoft Paint and I had a baseball field. I go, okay, if you're here, you're 1B. If you're here, you're 2B. If you hit the ball here and you go here, that's a 2B. That's called a double. And I spent like an entire shift just
Ooh.
literally teaching this man baseball.
I know what
So
that's like
yeah.
100%.
So when he goes to code, he knows what the stuff is. And if
Yeah.
that's what I have to do for success, I am willing to do whatever required. But
But it sounds
just
like you learned these skills by just
yeah,
fucking doing it. Like
yeah.
you just had to
Push comes
build
to shove,
something.
gotta do it.
Yeah, like that's a big part of like our mission too, is like the only way you're really going to learn how these skills actually apply to business is just by throwing yourself in the fire and actually doing it. Um,
And I have you could say I have third degree burns from how much I've thrown myself into the fire over the last like 7 years or so. But yeah, so because I've acquired these skills, and I keep going back to this point about this is a perfect timing scenario for me to launch something like PlayerProps.AI. I was like, okay, so I'm able now. I'm comfortable in talking to people from countries that don't have the sports that the U.S. has, that or don't pay attention to sports at all. I'm able to comfortable teaching them what it is. I'm comfortable. I don't code. I'm not a dev, but I can look at an API feed, JSON or whatever, and I could be like, I can. I'm able to look at crazy amounts of data and be able to single out like, okay, this, or this. Like, hey, like this isn't working, and I go, oh, you need to change it to this or use this word. So I've gotten
mm,
comfortable doing stuff like that.
that's
Um,
dope. That's
and
dope.
it's
Very
just
cool.
I've used UX UI like for player props today for the landing page and for the initial design. I used a UX UI guy, but I only really need that for the initial design. And then when it comes to me making tweaks, necessary tweaks after the fact, I mean, I make the tweaks with the UX UI guy, and then okay, boom, this is what I want it to be. But then when we start building it, I go, you know what, I really don't like this. I actually use, and this is the funniest thing to me that I love telling people, is I use Microsoft Paint. I use Microsoft Paint, and I'll be like, I'll take a screenshot of the site, and I'll just literally pull a box, like a little box around something, pull it over somewhere else, take another screenshot or copy that image and then paste it. And even though it's hot trash of what it actually looks like, I know how to use the hot trash to get my image in my brain across. And it's so funny when I even
That's
like,
you're a
if
real
I'm dealing with a
OG,
dev for the
man.
first time, I'll send him something and I'll be like, I'm sorry, this sucks so bad, but do you understand what I'm trying to get you to do? And
You're
he's like, yeah, I got it. I'm like, okay.
you're the reason they haven't killed paint yet, bro. I love
No,
it.
man, I am a hardcore Microsoft Paint person.
That's,
I screen
that's
share
awesome.
and tweak things like crazy on Microsoft Paint.
That's fucking awesome. Very cool. Very cool, man. Nice. That's awesome. I think that I've covered a lot of stuff. Like, I guess what advice would you give to people who are, looking to build an app startup, kind of like you are, what advice would you give them if they're watching this video and they want to bring a really ambitious idea to life, just like you?
The number one reason I believe that startups are successful is networking. If you do not know people in your space and you're trying to do something in that space, you could have success if you have a lot of money or a lot of backers that have money. That's another thing you need. So network's number one. Funding is number two. If you don't have one, you still can get by number two. If you don't have either of them, it's not going to be successful. And so if somebody was starting out in MySpace, for example, I don't know, not MySpace, but MySpace, sports betting, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If somebody's starting in sports betting, I would say, even though these conferences they do cost money, $1,000 to get in for like a 3-day event, and then you have to pay room and board and flight and stuff like that. If you can, start going to these conferences, start meeting people, just start getting involved. And because I've been going to these every single sports betting conference and fantasy sports conference in the US for the last 5-6 years, there's a lot of people I know just because I've been going to them, because I've met them, and I only see them at conferences. But it's just, I put in the work for 5 or 6 years. I made that network to the point where, I made a network of devs that can help me on the dev side. I made a network of investors. I have a network of people in the sports betting space, a network of B2B companies, like the data feeds that you see on PlayerProps.AI. Like I had to know companies that be able to give that to me. I'm part of an accelerator, look into accelerators as well. So like
nice.
For those that aren't in the space, if you're trying to get access to historical data, so historical player data, historical team data, just historical sports data, there's 2 companies in the space, and they charge an arm and a leg. I'm talking about like one sport is like minimum. One sport is like $15,000 for the year, which you're like, if you break that down by month, it's only like $1,000 a month. Yeah. But if you're making $0, $1,000 a month for one sport is crazy. So there's one of the smaller, newer companies based out of Canada. It's called Rolling Insights. And I know them from connections from all this stuff. And I saw they had accelerator, and I applied and got in. So not only are they less expensive than the juggernauts with almost all of the same data, but I'm also getting that data for like 90% off for the first 12 months to help me kind of get things going. So it's a huge, huge thing to kind of figure out. There's nothing you have to do by yourself when you're starting a company. There's always somebody that knows more than you do for a certain thing. There's always somebody that's willing to help out. You just have to find them. So like for me on my end, if I didn't know my dev friend who's helping me on the oversee the devs that I have, no way in the world I've been able to do PlayerProps.AI. Not a chance in the world. If I didn't have access, if I didn't seek out access to like the Rolling Insights Accelerator program, no way in the world would I've started something and had to automatically pay thousands of dollars a month for access to data feeds. So it's just, you just have to create that perfect scenario. You have to figure out, okay, what is the minimum, the MVP? What's the MVP that I need to make it sexy enough that investors may be interested in it? Okay, how do I get to that point? And then just kind of work your way back. Like, well, I need data. Okay, let me talk to data people. I need sportsbook partnerships or pick map sponsorships. Let me start reaching out to those. And so it's just kind of like figuring out the end goal. Like I already know my end goal is 35 million and I have a 36-month plan for that. And then it's just me working backwards. How do I get to that? It's just, the puzzle's already solved. What does your solved puzzle look like? Start taking pieces away that get to that point.
That's awesome. That's incredible advice. That's absolutely incredible.
That just came out of nowhere. I like that puzzle one. So I speak about puzzles because I've over the last few months, I got addicted to escape rooms, man. Escape rooms are the best thing that the world has created. And I feel I love puzzles. I love riddles. I love puzzles. I love using that part of my brain. So I'm literally addicted to escape rooms. My wife and I go not at least, but pretty much just like we go to one every single weekend at this point. There's a lot here in Orlando, Florida.
That's awesome. My girlfriend and I talked about going. There's a ton of escape rooms in New York City, and we hit up one of them. But we've also talked about going to way more. But that's awesome. No,
so random plug. There's an app called Morty, Morty, like Rick and Morty, and it uses your location to show you on a map every single escape room location and room and review of that room and difficulty of that room and times available for that room everywhere in the not just the US, but I think it's the world. And so it's literally just us every Saturday, like, okay, yeah, we haven't done this one yet. Let's go do that one.
You just plugged another app. We're gonna have to go interview this founder next.
Yeah, I don't know who they are. It was something that one of the escape rooms had like a.
I'll say I have one of your OG, your whales in the sports term. I have a whale of your app that we can all interview. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
Hell yeah, man. Hey, Travis, thanks so much for taking this time. I think you shared a lot. If you're looking for anything, let us know. Where can people find you? You have a Discord, you have a website. You want to plug those?
Yeah, so if you go to as of this recording, if you go to PlayerProps.AI on your desktop, the only thing you're actually able to do is join the Discord. If you actually I know all devs pretty much know this trick or whatever, but if you actually minimize the window and form the shape of a phone on your desktop, it actually will show you the mobile website version. And so you can actually create an account, sign up, and then if you're on your phone, you're looking on your phone after you log in to the free account, the Discord logo is in the bottom right, and you can join the Discord that way. But I mean, yeah, reach out. I'm pretty heavy on LinkedIn. You can send me an email. My email is ceo@betterbetsinc.com. That's better with the ER, which is the parent company for PlayerProps.AI. But yeah, ceo@betterbetsinc.com. Facebook, I'm everywhere. All social medias, man. It's easy to find me.
Yeah, you're all over the place, definitely. Yeah, and then I just kind of pulled up that trick. I just inspected the element and shrank it down. I could see there's a lot more content.
So I know so the inspect thing is something that that's hard to explain to someone who isn't familiar with right clicking and clicking escape. So I go, just minimize your window, and they go, oh, hey, it works, because I have people in my Discord all the time. When is the desktop site coming out? And I go, just minimize your window and form the shape of a phone, and they go, oh, that worked.
Yeah, smart. Travis, thank you so much, man. Really appreciate it. I'll leave a link in the description for everybody out there. And yeah, thanks everybody for sticking with us.
Hey, man, appreciate it. Thank you.